Hello, good morning in this wonderful sunshine, in this wonderful area. Ladies and gentlemen, dear ministers in absence. Yeah, they are on a press conference. But I have to continue because the plane is not waiting for me. Now, anyhow, what I'm presenting now is a reflection on man and nature. Natural resources make up the wealth of a country, as do forests, livestock, and all agricultural goods. Although often more income goes into the pockets of investors than into those of the population. However, there is another wealth that is not perceived enough: the beauty of a landscape. A value that above all determines the quality of human life. Let's look outside, especially today, into the Bavarian Austrian Alps, the wonderful Berchtesgadener land. Why do so many people come here and not only want to go on holiday, but definitely want to take up residence? In any mountain huts, you pay not only for sausage, bacon dumplings, or Kaiserschmarrn, but also for the view, the wonderful panorama. The mountains are not only climatically healthy, but also from the side that they are a balm for the soul. The hikes fill our blood with new oxygen. We see the world afterwards again more positively. These are values beyond the big money, and yet they require an infrastructure that makes such a perception possible and costs the infrastructure. It is an investment of a special kind insofar as it does not yield a profit that can be calculated as a percentage. We humans have different relationships with nature. We can see the earth as a store of material for our survival, for research and technology. She's at our service, so to speak. We exploit the earth, or have exploited it for a long time, without considering the consequences for earth and man. Our roadsides are sometimes full of garbage, as if we live in a garbage society. Our seas are flooded with plastic waste. Even in space, now a lot of garbage is flying. The consequences are only now becoming apparent, and we are investing billions in securing a sustainable environment. We are repairing what we thoughtlessly have destroyed. Like children, we have treated nature with carelessness instead of considering the sustainability of our actions. But it's not just us Europeans who woke up. In Beijing, a travel companion had to pay a fine for carelessly throwing a cigarette butt on the street. He had to pay the equivalent of 10 euros. The Bible says, "Subdue the earth, but not exploit it." In a pictorial way, it is depicted how God brings the animals to man to see what he calls them. Man has his intimate relationship with God. God himself has created him as man and woman. But man has also a close relationship with animals and nature. The destiny of the world in which man is placed by God is actually a paradise, as what was mentioned this morning which holds true especially for the Berchtesgadener land. And therefore it must be preserved. The world is not only nature, it is a creation granted to man so that he may dwell in it. Nature is more than a store for material. It is a creation that we must respect and nurture. It must not become a dustbin of our society. In other religions or religious understandings, people are fully embedded in the course of nature, in the wheel of history. Man is born again and again to new life. Therefore, no living must be harmed. In Zen meditation, I observed, if a mosquito likes a shaved head, the monk must not move. But the Far Eastern religions are concerned with much more, the unity of nature. It is the cosmic unity, one of the basic ideas also of the philosophy of the ancient Greek Stoics. They lived 300 before Christ to 200 Anno Domini. The great harmony of the world. And here we touch the Chinese world of Taoism and Confucianism. Man comes from nature. He is the pinnacle of the evolution, the crown of creation. However, he is not only part of nature, but also faces it and bears responsibility for creation. He remains connected to her not only because of the food he takes from her, but because he is embedded in the different rhythms of nature. We monks live in these rhythms and enjoy a physical and mental health. It is a rhythm of work and reading, of prayer times, of sleeping and being awake. Everything is settled and keeps you healthy. But man has also the ability to shape nature according to special values. He has a sense for another dimension of nature, beauty. In Europe, this feeling came with the poet Francesco Petrarca in the 14th century, who on April 26th in 1336 wrote to a friend of his about his mountain ascent of Mont Ventoux in Provence in France, that he very much enjoyed nature, which he never had seen so much before, how much he enjoyed the beauty of the landscape, and that he himself found his own self in nature. And this is the mystery of meditation. A new dimension opened up. It was the beginning of the Renaissance era of humanism. And we call that era humanism because man becomes aware that he is a human being and that is much more. But as I have said, and I shall underline, man in nature, integrated into nature. This attention does not exist in all cultures. I had a guest from another culture and wanted to show him the beauty of our landscape. I drove a particularly beautiful panoramic stretch with the car, but he showed no interest but slept next to me. Just as someone else could not understand why we in Germany give a lady roses when we congratulate her on her birthday, I was asked, what does it mean? I said, yes, we give the thorns. It is not always easy to convey a feeling of beauty to others. The best way is to have intercultural conversations with someone and let them experience the beauty as well. You must experience the beauty in your soul. A highlight of artistic design are the ikebana and the Japanese gardens, as well as the framed mountain stones in Korea, and also the gardens in our monasteries. Nature is transformed into culture, and I think that's very important. Beauty is a dimension of nature in its own right, and it must be emphasized. Who of us does not know the sunrises or sunsets in our Alps, or the alpenglow, a unique natural spectacle? In Germany, we have therefore been introducing landscape protection for some time. When building new roads, we take great care to ensure that they blend harmoniously into the landscape. Also, owners of properties cannot simply build on them at will, but we pay attention to the environment. Just look at the skyline of the houses, the townscapes here in Upper Bavaria. Despite all his freedom, man is cannot arbitrarily intervene in the landscape and exploit it for a short-term profit. When I look at the residential silos of large cities in China, in Seoul or Tokyo, I long for our beautiful Upper Bavaria. On hikes, we also can pause, become silent, and find ourselves, experience our own value. We are coming to our senses. We are finding our own self. We sit down, and often the word can escape us, "My God, how wonderful, how beautiful your world is." It's our world too. We suddenly notice the beauty of the meadows, of the flowers, the autumn leaves on the trees when they glow in the sun, the sparkling of running waters. We hear the chirping of the crickets and listen to the singing of the birds. Nature is a wonderful home. To look over the mountains at the morning haze, just when we are sitting on a mountain top, pleases the heart of man. Our heart is going up. There are nowadays fascinating adventure trails also in the Alps for young and old. The joy expresses itself especially in our cultural moments. We have seen it also in singing, in dancing, in the colorful costumes of a Bavarian region. These are not only special performances for foreigners, a show, as I have experienced with several cultures, for example with the mariachi in Mexico or with the dances in Thailand. Folk songs, folk dances, brass music are still embedded in our whole culture in Bavaria. Also, the processions on holidays, like Corpus Christi, are an expression of the faith of the population. An entire village will be on its feet, but precisely because they constitute life and people can feel it, also the also the foreign guests, and that's what attracts many foreign guests on these special days, or we saw it also for the Advent songs. The guests will appreciate also another value, the community and hospitality. They are welcomed with pleasure, not only because of their finances, but because they are human beings, and we are urged to share with them the good and beauty that we possess. We humans belong together, even in nature. The nature is a common good. The nature is a common good for a beauty for all people, not only for us. And I think that's one also of the fundamentals of tourism. Let us therefore return now to nature again. We can often no longer leave it in its original state that was mentioned already, but must intervene if we want to live in it. We need houses, we need energy of wind and sun and power lines. If we want to get away from fossil fuels and reduce CO2 emissions. We see now numerous windmills and solar panels on the roofs, which can affect also a landscape or a village image. But it is also important to maintain an ecological balance. Saint Benedict, the founder of my order, who lived in the 6th century, calls in his rule the right measure the mother of all virtues. The English would perhaps call it common sense. We have to find the right balance. Monks have cleared, in the Occident, have cleared forests, regulated rivers, created fish ponds. They have made nature arable, but always paid attention to the right measure, not to destroy nature. The destruction was a consequence of the new technical possibilities. Today you can fish the oceans empty with the echo sounder and modern nets, while in former times the fish had time to reproduce again. In Germany, for the hunt of wild animals, we have exact prescribed periods. Many love skiing. We have seen it also in this wonderful movie. Pistes have been created. Ski lifts can be seen in many places. In the meantime, however, we have become aware of how much damage can be done to nature. This is why mountain slopes are being restored to their natural state. For lifts and ski slopes, exact regulations apply today. It is always a matter of balance, so that our nature is preserved for future generations and tourists can continue to be offered the beauty and the recreational value. God has given man nature. However, we do not need to remain inactive. We can intervene. We are called to become co-creators of the creation of nature. We design and form it according to our needs, transform it into culture, taking into account that it remains to us in its beauty and originality. To be co-creators is the dignity of the human being and also the responsibility of the human being. We have emancipated ourselves from nature, but we should not dominate oppress nature. Rather, we live in it. It's our house and our home. Mindfulness, respect for nature, and thus also for people, are values that we have become aware. They are values that we have become aware of in recent times. They make the human being a man and a woman in nature, in a wonderful surrounding. And you may then feel comfortable in it, like in the beautiful Berchtesgadener land. Or, as the famous Bavarian poet Ludwig Ganghofer has said, whom God loves, God will send to the Berchtesgadener land. Thank you.